And syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer, who we now have to point out has just reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, knocking off Bill O'Reilly. The Times must be breaking out in hives, having the two of you at the top of their chart, not to mention the reaction from Papa Bear O'Reilly.
Oh, look, he's been extremely gracious in helping the book and promoting the book and launching it. So he's a classy guy, and he showed it in doing this.
You think that's going to make him forgive you for knocking him off?
Not a chance in hell.
The bottom line is insurers can extend current plans that would otherwise be canceled into 2014, and Americans whose plans have been canceled can choose to re-enroll in the same kind of plan.
What's going on here? I mean, have we just even left behind the pretense that we're making policy here and that this is all about just putting out this fire?
This is all about show, this is all about appearances, and this is all about the president protecting himself and some Democrats. Politically, Jonah and Kirsten are right. This is not going to have a real effect on those who lost their policies. The state health insurance commissioners have indicated, and the insurers have indicated, this is almost impossible to undo. You can't put the Humpty Dumpty back. He did it because there was a rebellion among Democrats on his hand. Everyone knows about Republican opposition, wall-to-wall and constant. But what he was getting, especially after the statement by Clinton, who essentially, Bill Clinton, who had said a few days ago, you know, the president has not honored the promise he made. That's #1. That's a pretty big accusation. And even though he had the pseudo-apology. And second, he needs to change the law. Well, here was all the Democrats furious at him. They all went out on a limb. They understand getting all this mail from people who've lost their insurance plans. And he doesn't want to change the law. So what he does, this is a stopgap because there's going to be a bill introduced in the House by Republicans tomorrow. And he was afraid of a stampede of Republicans who would support it and make him look completely isolated.
You mean
and abandoned.
Stampede of Democrats?
I'm sorry, of Democrats to join the Republicans in changing the law, but the law itself. So he decided, I'll do an executive action as a way to at least allow the Democrats to say we're trying something. But what the miscalculation is, these Democrats have to have a vote. They have to support what the Republicans are doing. They have to show on the record that they wanted to undo this disaster. And that's why some of them will support the Republicans tomorrow.
When it comes to this health care law, the White House doesn't have much credibility. And let's be clear, the only way to fully protect the American people is to scrap this law once and for all. There is no way to fix this.
As I was listening to the president today, I couldn't help but think there's a little technicality called the Constitution. Yes. And the president, we know, some months ago unilaterally declared that he was not going to enforce the employer mandate for a year. Now, today, he basically unilaterally declared he's not going to enforce the coverage mandate that mandates in the law that all of these policies have new expanded standards. Can he do that?
No. You read my mind and you stepped on my lines. This is entirely lawless, entirely unconstitutional. And the fact that nobody is talking about this, the executive executes the laws. As you say, this is another example of Obama rewriting a law unilaterally, and nobody is complaining. The constitutional issue is out there, and I think it's rather embarrassing that on either side of the aisle it isn't being raised. In fact, what the White House is doing is saying, I don't want it to actually become legislation, which would be the constitutional way of doing it. I want it only to be an executive action. But I think there's another irony here, is that the Democratic bill by Mary Landrieu, who was in deep trouble in Louisiana, she actually said on tape, if you like your plan, you'll be able to keep it. She is the one who wanted to introduce a bill which would allow you to keep it. It is stronger than the Republican bill in the House. It would force the insurers to take you back, and it would be indefinite, whereas the House bill, the Republican one, is only a year. I do think Harry Reid will kill the bill in the Senate. But in the House, the president was afraid of being embarrassed by a stampede. And I think you're right. This is going to be cover, and only a few of them will go over to the other side.
This has been a Sunfish production.